Episode 21. Who's really covered? From temp workers who get passed over for healthcare to FMLA loopholes that exclude family caregivers. Benefits aren't benefits if you can't use them. Hey everybody, it's Gia, and welcome back to Logistics at a Crossroads. And today, we're diving into something that cuts deeper than most handbooks dare to admit. Benefits aren't benefits if you can't use them. We talk a lot about coverage like it's a safety net. But what good is a net full of holes? Whether it's health insurance that's technically available but practically unreachable, or leave policies that exist only in name. The gap between policy and reality is where too many workers live. And in this episode, we're pulling back the curtain on what that coverage really looks like in our world. Logistics. From temp workers passed over for healthcare to family caregivers excluded from FMLA protections. We're talking about the people falling through the cracks of a system and what it costs everyone involved. Let's start with the people who keep the warehouses humming, the docks moving, and the back office processes in check. Those temporary workers, the ones on paper considered contractors or agency staff. But in reality, they clock in daily, take company-specific style safety training, and wear the same gear as your full-time crew. But when it comes to benefits, they're invisible. Misclassification isn't just a legal issue. It's a human one. Because when someone gets sick, has a baby, or needs to take time off, being labeled temporary is often the difference between a paycheck and nothing. And in logistics, that label gets used a lot. Not because the work is short-term, but because the commitment to the worker is. Take someone like Jamal, a forklift driver at a third-party logistics firm in Dallas. He's been on the job 18 months, works 50 hours a week, and wears the company badge. But because technically he's on lease from a staffing agency, he got nothing when his wife had to have emergency surgery. No leave, no support, just pressure to cover his shifts or risk being replaced at that job site. And when we talk about leave, FMLA, short-term disability, or even just our very own earned day off, one word continues to come up: cost. For employers, sure, there are administrative tasks, payroll burdens, coverage gaps. But what about the hidden costs? The cost of not recognizing a legitimate leave request, of criticizing someone who's using protected time, of insisting that goals still need to hit even while someone is healing. Yes, you might save a few hours on paper, but you lose trust, the morale takes a hit, and retention becomes a revolving door. And let's be honest, mismanaging leave can easily turn into a lawsuit. Ask Jewish Voice Ministries International. In the case against them, Kelly versus JVMI, the court sided with the plaintiff, who was terminated after returning from an FMLA-covered stroke. She still answered emails, still tried to help while out, and was let go after her role was restructured. Another example, in Parker versus United Airlines. An employee was penalized for excessive absenteeism, despite having medical documentation and having FMLA approval. The court did not just side with her. They reminded employers that FMLA isn't optional, and that retaliation, even subtly, counts. The law doesn't just require paperwork. It requires respect. And here's what you need to know. The Department of Labor isn't just looking for at FMLA cases. They've started to actively pursue them. In a recent initiative, the DOL ramped up enforcement across industries where misclassification, retaliation, and benefit denial ran high. And logistics was one of the tops. In fiscal year 2024 alone, over 1.4 million in back wages were recovered for FMLA-related violations. And that's just what got caught. And this isn't about fines. It's about your name ending up in a DOL press release. Searchable, public, reputationally toxic. Workers read those. So do competitors. And so do future job applicants. So yes, policy matters. But so does implementation. Let's talk solutions. Here are 7 ways logistics, and not just logistics employers, but all employers can protect both people and be in compliance. 1. Train your supervisors. Most FMLA missteps happen because a manager makes an offhand comment or they misinterprets the policy. Audit your job classifications. Make sure the roles people are in, if they are labeled as contractor, aren't being treated like employees without the benefits. And use a real leave calendar. Let me rephrase that. Real leave tracker, because a calendar just doesn't cut it. You want to be able to track the usage, the renewal period, and the communication that's been sent out. Do not restructure during someone's leave. It's risky, and even well-meaning changes can look retaliatory. And document transparently, keep records, but share the process. Let employees see you're tracking for accountability, not punishment. Build a culture of use. Normalize leave. Talk about it in your onboarding. Praise people who actually take the time they need. And for those of you that use staffing agencies or independent contractors, review your vendor agreements. If you are outsourcing your labor, your liability doesn't disappear. Make sure your staffing agencies are compliant because co-employment risk is real. And a word to the workers, a call to HR and a word to the workers. And before we close, this is what I wanted to speak to about 2 people. Well, 2 groups of people. HR and the companies writing the policy, and those employees or contractors living through it. To HR and managers, your policies mean nothing if people don't trust them. Create an environment where asking for help isn't treated like a burden. When leave is honored, not just tolerated. And to those workers who are about to use FMLA or going out on leave, track your days. Save your emails. Keep your appointment records and know your rights. Because coverage doesn't protect you if it isn't respected. And your health, your caregiving, your survival, it's not optional. And if you're scared to speak up, you're not alone. But silence is the system's favorite tool. ask questions, get clarity, reach out to advocacy groups or legal aid if you need backup. But no job is worth your health, and no title is worth your silence. This was the Logistics at a Crossroads podcast. Until next time, keep holding the line. And as always, remember, I'll be navigating the crossroads right along with you.